Chapter 3795. It must be that Han Shilling just came back, and Beichen feels guilty, so he said such words just to comfort her. Bailey Hongzhuang comforted herself. If she was in his shoes, maybe she would do the same thing. It was not incomprehensible. However, she clearly noticed that Han Shilling looked at her with a bit of provocation. This woman really liked to play tricks. Beichen, I heard that you and Bailey Hongzhuang are married? Han Shilling stared at Beichen, and tears rolled down like broken pearls. My goal since I was a child is to marry you. You know it clearly. Do I have no place in your heart for so many years? Looking at Han Shilling's tearful appearance, Beichen was also somewhat at a loss. Shiling, don't be like this. I have liked you for so many years, and I have already decided on you. I know that you rarely have contact with women. Among the women, only Shangguan Ying and I can talk to you. Shangguan Ying is Xiren's sweetheart, so you will talk to her. What about me? If you don't have me in your heart, why do you always let me accompany you? Han Shilling looked at Beichen stubbornly, as if she had already decided on everything. Shiling, it doesn't make sense to say all this now. Hongzhuang and I are married. She is my wife. I don't care. Han Shilling rushed forward again and hugged Beichen tightly. As long as you have a little place for me in your heart, I am willing to accompany you. I don't ask for a status, I just want to accompany you. Shiling. Beichen frowned, and his expression was extremely complicated. Han Shilling raised her head in Beichen's arms, and her crying face looked lovely. Is this not okay? Beichen stared at Han Shilling, and his eyes were full of struggle. Finally, he said helplessly, Shiling, Hongzhuang will not be willing. Hongzhuang will not be willing. This sentence exploded in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Beichen said that she would not be willing. Didn't that mean that Beichen was willing in his heart? Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang felt that it was difficult to accept. For a long time, all she wanted was to be with Beichen. She thought that Beichen treated her wholeheartedly. She had never thought that Beichen's heart had other thoughts. Other thoughts. Her heart seemed to be blocked by something, and she felt unspeakably uncomfortable. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but reach out and cover her chest. Her dark eyes stared at Beichen. The face that she usually felt familiar with was particularly strange at this moment. How could this be? This thought kept flashing in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. She couldn't believe that the final result would become like this. She had been so firm and had been so convinced, but Beichen's answer at this moment was tantamount to giving her a blow. Han Shilling's sarcastic words before echoed in her ears. Was she really too confident? Recalling Beichen's kindness to her, and the original oath was still vivid in her mind. Bailey Hongzhuang only felt a stabbing pain in her heart, making it difficult for her to breathe. Chapter 3796. Han Shilling looked at Beichen affectionately, her eyes full of anticipation. That kind of affection was like a moth darting into a flame. As long as Beichen gave a positive answer, she would be willing to put down everything and stay by his side. Beichen lowered his head and stared into those watery eyes before finally nodding his head. Seeing this scene, Han Shilling's face suddenly lit up with a happy smile. Beichen, I knew that there must be a place for me in your heart. Han Shilling's heart was overflowing with joy. She couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang's position. Her expression was clearly telling Bailey Hongzhuang, you've lost. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in a daze as she looked at Beichen, who was hugging Han Shilling. She opened her mouth but felt as if an invisible hand was strangling her neck, making her unable to say a word. Her heart suddenly felt empty. Compared to the suppressed heartache, this empty feeling was even more unbearable. Bailey Hongzhuang only felt that her firm belief had completely collapsed at this moment. It turned out that Beichen wasn't that sincere towards her. It was just that she had always been too confident. She didn't know if it was because Beichen had always been too good at pretending in front of her, or if it was because she was too trusting of others that she ended up in this helpless situation. Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her gaze and no longer looked at the two people. She felt suffocated if she looked at them any longer. Her body slowly slid to the ground. She couldn't help but reach out her hands to hug herself. She felt a chill on her body. This coldness spread from the bottom of her heart and couldn't be warmed up at all. From the first time she met Bewitching to the various interactions later, all the scenes appeared in front of her eyes. Her eyes unconsciously became misty and tears flowed down uncontrollably, soaking her sleeves. Why? But this thought kept appearing in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. The ground was cold, but it couldn't compare to the chill in her heart. How would she face Bewitching from now on? How was she going to tell her parents? However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze suddenly froze. No, that can't be. Bailey Hongzhuang's misty eyes gradually became firm. Bewitching wouldn't do this to me. My judgment can't be wrong. She clearly remembered that although Bewitching cared about Han Shiling's help in the past, when she stood on the opposite side of Han Shiling, Bewitching had always stood firmly on her side. From the beginning to the end, he had never shown any interest in Han Shiling. If Bewitching really did like Han Shiling, then he could just be together with Han Shiling. Why would he need to go through so much trouble? Bailey Hongzhuang gradually became clear-headed. Her mind was filled with the scenes of Bewitching protecting her. From the beginning to the end, between her and Han Shiling, Bewitching had always chosen her. Bewitching definitely couldn't have any personal feelings for Han Shiling. He was deeply in love with her. Why would he do such a thing? Bailey Hongzhuang wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and slowly stood up from the ground. She immediately pushed the screen aside and looked at the two people in front of her. Upon seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Bewitching's face quickly became flustered. Wife, listen to my explanation. Chapter 3797. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching hurriedly walked in front of her and held her hands tightly. Wife, listen to me. It's not like what you see. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the anxious Bewitching in front of her and her lips slowly curled into a mocking smile. I've already seen through it. You're not Bewitching and Han Shiling is already dead. You're just an illusion. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching and Han Shiling's faces were filled with fear. In the next moment, the scene in front of them shattered like a mirror and disappeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Unknowingly, the trial area was filled with cultivators. This level of excitement was unprecedented in the Devil Training Tower. Almost all the cultivators who knew about this had rushed over. Even though the trial area was empty, it was now filled with cultivators. Some cultivators also wanted to squeeze in to see what was going on. Unfortunately, there were just too many cultivators inside and there was no place for them to stand. It's already the third day and the two of them still haven't come out after going in. Could it be that the two of them can really obtain the inheritance? Previously, everyone was certain that Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shiling could not obtain the Hu city's inheritance. Now, no one dared to make such a claim. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shiling had already used their performance to prove that they had already passed the third trial. Once they passed the third trial, they would be able to possess a murderous aura. Thinking of this possibility, everyone found it hard to believe. I never thought that they would be so powerful. If only one of them had lasted until now, it would be fine. But the two of them have lasted until now. This is just too shocking. They've already reached the third trial. I heard that the third trial is the simplest and most difficult trial. It won't be easy to pass it. If they can really obtain the inheritance, I'll have to ask them about the secret of passing the trial when they come out. After all, I don't believe that there's no secret to the inheritance of 3 people in a team. Everyone nodded. Half of the third day had already passed. Although they were unwilling to admit it, they already felt that Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Shijiu would most likely obtain the final inheritance. If there really is a secret, that would be great. Of course. It is said that this killing intent field is extraordinary when used. It is of great help to cultivators. A group of cultivators was drooling endlessly, and in their minds, they had already begun to think about how to get the information from Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth. When Bailey Hongzhuang woke up from the illusion, her vision was still filled with corpses and a sea of blood. The shocking red color stimulated her nerves. A sense of shock crept onto her face. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but sigh. Could it be that I was too tired and had a dream? This dream was too realistic. But I've never had a dream like this before. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless. She had always trusted Bewitching and had never thought in this direction. She never thought that she would have a dream like this. It was really unexpected. Chapter 3798. Even though she knows that it was all fake, she still felt terrible when she recalled it. Fortunately, it had only been a strange dream. This kind of thing would never happen in reality. Bailey Hongzhuang cursed silently. Bewitching's feelings for her were clear as day. If she were to have any doubts in the future, it would not be right. Just then, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly felt a powerful energy entering her body. She quickly raised her head and looked around her. She was shocked to find that streaks of blood-red energy had suddenly appeared from the corpses on the ground and were surging into her body. When she discovered this energy, Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. She had no idea what was going on and did not know whether this energy was good or bad. However, Bailey Hongzhuang soon realized that this energy was murderous intent. Could this be my reward for passing the second stage? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curled into a smile. She could now confirm that this energy would not harm her. On the contrary, it would be quite beneficial to her. Aside from a reward, she could not think of any other possibility. Immediately after, Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and calmly absorbed the energy that was rushing towards her. It looks like the third day is almost over. Does this mean that Bewitching and the others have succeeded? When Ziren could not hide the joy on his face. Even though he had always believed that Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching would succeed, he still found it hard to believe when this had actually happened. The inheritance of the demon training tower was notoriously difficult. However, Bewitching and Hongzhuang had both succeeded. Just by looking at the looks of disbelief on the faces of the surrounding cultivators, one could tell how incredible this was. Mo Yunjua's eyes darkened as he nodded. I think that should be the case. Now that we've reached the final step, the chances of failure shouldn't be too high. If they really succeed, that would be incredible. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but sigh. Normally, it would be extremely difficult for a single cultivator to successfully pass the test. Now, 3 of them had appeared. This was definitely big news that would shock the entire Penglai Island. He didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching to be so powerful. They were really heroes. Just based on this point alone, the cultivators of Penglai Palace could not compare with them. If Chu Yunyao knew about this, she would definitely have a headache. I'm really looking forward to Hongzhuang and the others coming out. I don't know how many people will envy them. Shangguan Yingying clasped her hands together and her face was full of excitement. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, and then a golden light quietly appeared. Noticing this ray of light, the cultivators present could not help but be stunned. The originally noisy environment also quieted down at this moment. After Mo Yunjue noticed the golden light, the smile on his face widened. He was no stranger to this ray of light. Everyone saw 3 golden words appear on the stone wall in front of the challenge area. Tibing. This was a stone wall that recorded the inheritance. Only the name of the cultivator who obtained the inheritance would appear on this stone wall. Therefore, the appearance of this name meant that Bewitching had successfully obtained the inheritance. Chapter 3799. Success. Bewitching succeeded. Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but jump up in excitement after noticing the resplendent golden name. The inheritance of the Devil Training Pagoda was truly an incredible inheritance. Bewitching really succeeded. Ziren couldn't help but wave his fist, his face full of excitement. Bewitching is still as abnormal as before. Breaking through wasn't a problem for him at all. That's really good news. Mo Yunjue's lips curled into a faint smile, a deep light flashing in his eyes. Ao Lingxiao didn't say anything, but his gaze quietly fell on the door of the breaking room. His handsome face quietly climbed up with a hint of determination. He felt that it was time for him to voice his conjecture. No matter if his conjecture was correct or not, they would be able to confirm it. Not long after Bewitching's name appeared, the door of the breaking room suddenly opened. Immediately after, Bewitching's figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. Looking at the extraordinarily handsome figure, everyone's eyes flashed with envy. He's out. Bewitching is out. I never thought that this guy would actually be able to obtain the inheritance of the devil training pagoda. How enviable. Murderous aura, I've only heard of its name, but I don't know what kind of amazing effects it has. This Bewitching is also the inheritor of the blood aura. With 2 inheritances gathered together, this Bewitching is really amazing. After Bewitching came out, he immediately noticed Xiren and the others. After noticing that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't beside Xiren and the others, his dark eyes flashed with a bright light. Bewitching, congratulations. Shengguan Ying was the first to speak. Xiren walked to Bewitching's side with a smile. Bewitching, you really live up to your reputation. You're as abnormal as always. Bewitching, congratulations. Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao both congratulated him. Bewitching's lips curled into a smile as he cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks, Hongzhuang hasn't come out yet?" Xiren nodded. "Last time, you husband and wife received the inheritance of the blood aura together. It seems that this time, you will receive the inheritance of the killing aura together. Since the time has come, Hongzhuang's inheritance should be a done deal," Mo Yunjue said with a smile. Bewitching nodded slightly, and the corners of his eyes and brows were also raised with joy. "That's great, but why are there suddenly so many people around here? Isn't that obvious?" "Naturally, it's because of you and Hongzhuang." Shengguan Ying smiled. "Previously, everyone bet that you wouldn't be able to make it through the first stage. However, as you stayed inside longer and longer, everyone couldn't hold back their curiosity. So, they all rushed over to see for themselves." "I see." Bewitching's face flashed with understanding. He thought that everyone came after knowing the result. He didn't expect that everyone had been so concerned about this matter before. "Bewitching, is the content of this stage difficult?" Shengguan Ying asked curiously. Bewitching thought for a moment and said, "It's not that difficult. However, if it's not difficult, it's not easy to pass." "It's that complicated?" Chapter 3800. The most important thing when challenging a trial is to be fearless and always believe in what you believe in. That way, your chances of success will greatly increase. As he spoke, Bewitching could not help but look at Mo Yunjue and said, "Yunjue, you should feel the same, right?" Mo Yunjue nodded. "That's right. The most important thing is to be fearless. Once your confidence is shaken, then you won't be able to pass the trial." When Xiren and Shengguan Ying glanced at each other when they heard this, and they seemed to be lost in thought. If it was a test of battle power, they might be able to make a judgment. However, if it was a test of one's heart, then it would be very difficult to make a judgment. After all, the human heart was the most complicated. Everyone's state of mind was different and the tests they faced would naturally be completely different as well. Therefore, they were unable to make a judgment based on this point. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and absorbed the endless energy that was surging into her body. She felt the murderous aura on her body continuously gathering. When the murderous aura gathered to a certain level, she felt a kind of aura quietly forming. She was not unfamiliar with this feeling. Back when she had first obtained the blood aura, it had been the same situation. Could it be that this murderous aura was a murderous aura? I've clearly only passed through 2 trials. How could I have received the inheritance? Bailey Hongzhuang was puzzled. She had thought that she did not know how abnormal the 3rd trial was. She never thought that she had already received the inheritance. Could it be that the dream I had previously was the 3rd trial? Very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang realized where the problem lay. Everyone knew that the trials of the Demon Training Tower were divided into 3 levels. It was impossible for her to have received the inheritance after only 2 trials. Therefore, that dream must have been the 3rd trial. The Demon Training Tower is indeed powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. If it wasn't for my trust in Bewitching, I'm afraid that I would have failed in the 3rd trial. Previously, she had killed until she was completely exhausted in the 2nd trial. Her mind was also very tired. Then, she had fallen into that kind of situation. She had entered the illusion when her consciousness was at its most blurred. Under such circumstances, it was very easy to be confused. Fortunately, she woke up at the last moment and was not deceived by the illusion. Otherwise, she would have failed. She had always thought that her mind was strong enough, but Beichen was the person she cared about the most. She didn't expect that this test would start with Beichen, and she almost fell for it. Now that she thought about it, she also felt that she was too stupid before. She trusted Beichen so much, but in the end, she still felt heartache. There are indeed very few people who can pass such a test. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and sighed. One had to overcome one's own inner demons in order to obtain the inheritance. As the murderous aura gradually took shape, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation began to rise rapidly. 8th level of the Purple Realm. 9th level of the Purple Realm. Her aura continued to rise, but Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know what realm she had reached. When everything in front of Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes returned to normal and she once again appeared in the stone room, the corners of her lips curled into a smile. She slowly clenched her hands into fists and felt the abundant energy in her body. Her smile widened. The inheritance of the Demon Training Tower is indeed extraordinary. My power has increased by a lot. Chapter 3801. I just don't know what level of strength I have now. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Her current strength was not the same as it had been 1,000 years ago. She had no way of determining it. However, according to her intuition, there was definitely a realm above the Purple Realm. She just didn't know about it. It seems that we'll have to wait until we return to the Penglai Palace to find out. Lord Long and the others must know about the situation after the Purple Realm. There were many strong cultivators in the Penglai Palace. She believed that there would definitely be cultivators above the Purple Realm. Perhaps they would be able to learn more about the dark power. With the spread of the news that Di Beichen had obtained the inheritance, the number of cultivators gathered in the breakthrough area increased. Almost everyone wanted to find out what had happened. Di Beichen has already obtained the inheritance and left. Why is Bailey Hongzhuang still inside? Could it be that the inheritance doesn't only last 3 days? She just stayed inside for a long time but didn't succeed? That's possible. Di Beichen's success alone is already very abnormal. If Bailey Hongzhuang also succeeds, I have to wonder if there's something wrong with this challenge area. However, just as this cultivator said this, a golden light suddenly flashed. It was a complete slap in the face. A shining name appeared on the stone wall again, Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's names were written together just like that, stimulating everyone's nerves. Is there any justice in this world? A cultivator could not help but hold his head. It's only been 2 or 3 months, and 3 inheritors have appeared in succession. This is too exciting. What's going on? Either none of them appear in 100 years, or so many of them appear at once. This is too irregular. I think you should stop comforting yourself. It's not about the content of the challenge at all. It's just that Di Beichen and the others are really powerful. There were also many calm cultivators present. Even though this news had shocked them a lot, but thinking about the previous performance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, although this was unexpected, it was not unacceptable if they thought about it carefully. At this moment, a white figure slowly walked out of the challenge room. Envious gazes swept over to Bailey Hongzhuang, only to see that this woman had a beauty that could topple cities, swaying with the wind as she walked. She was clearly indifferent and alienated, but she gave people a feeling of elegance like an immortal. For a moment, the men present looked at her with blurred eyes. Fairies really did exist in this world. Her looks were outstanding and her strength was tyrannical. Such a woman was truly everyone's fantasy. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang walked out, she realized that there was a sea of people outside. Everyone's eyes were fixed on her. She could not help but feel astonished. I never thought that so many people would come. Bailey Hongzhuang secretly sighed. Master, congratulations. You've successfully received the inheritance. Xiao He jumped excitedly. Previously, when Master was challenging the challenge, I couldn't speak at all. I almost suffocated to death. Now I can finally speak. Congratulations, Master. Xiao Bai and Bai Shi quickly followed up with their congratulations. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. You're the ones with the sweet tongues. Chapter 3802. Bewitching came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side for the first time, his dark and bright eyes sparkling as he held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and boneless hand. Wifey, congratulations. Bewitching, did you pass? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. However, Bewitching frowned and didn't say anything. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze couldn't help but change. She thought to herself, could it be that Bewitching didn't receive the inheritance? She glanced at Mo Yunjue and the others in confusion. Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao didn't say anything. However, when her gaze landed on Xiren, Xiren couldn't help but chuckle. Hongzhuang, you're so powerful. As your husband, Bewitching naturally wouldn't be too bad. Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned. When she looked at Bewitching again, she found that the corners of his lips were slowly rising. So you lied to me on purpose. How would I dare? Bewitching smiled dotingly. That's great. You've all successfully received the inheritance. This is great news. I'm sure sect leader Situ and the others will be proud of you when they know about this. Shengguan Yingying clapped her hands, her eyes filled with yearning. When Xiren looked at Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. Although I can't determine your current cultivation, I can feel that your auras have improved a lot. Hearing this, Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other and smiled. This isn't a good place to talk. Let's go back first. At this moment, Mo Yunjue suddenly reminded them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked around and saw that everyone was looking at them curiously, wanting to know what they were talking about. Bewitching nodded. It wasn't until they left the challenge area that the cultivators in the challenge area left one after another. Bewitching, what are your cultivations now? As soon as they entered the house, when Xiren's curious gaze fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang and Lin Yiqin. He was really curious to see how much their powers would increase after successfully clearing the stage. Bewitching frowned and said, I should be above the 9th level of the Purple Realm, but I can't tell what level I am exactly at. That's right, me too. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Bewitching's cultivation should be higher than mine. He was originally 1 level higher than me. In that case, Hongzhuang, you're already above the 9th level of the Purple Realm? Yes. In my opinion, we should have entered an even higher level. It's just that we can't tell at the moment. As he spoke, Bewitching couldn't help but look at Mo Yunjue and said, Yunjue, are you the same? Yes. Xiren chuckled. It seems that the inheritance of the Devil Training Tower is really amazing. If we relied on our own cultivation, it would probably take a long time to reach this level of cultivation. Now, we've only succeeded in clearing the stage and our cultivation has increased by so much. How long have I been in the challenge area? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. I feel like I've been in there for a long time. Chapter 3803. Only 3 days? Bailey Hongzhuang was astonished. The feeling inside is completely different. I thought I stayed inside for a long time. Luckily, it was only 3 days. Speaking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes suddenly lit up and she couldn't help but sigh. It's only been 3 days, but my cultivation has improved so much. If I could repeatedly break through this barrier, it would be amazing. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bewitching and the rest couldn't help but chuckle. If the situation is really like that, wouldn't it be amazing? In just 1 year, I'll become the #1 expert. That's true. As for this cultivation, we'll ask Master Long when we return to Penglai Palace. He'll definitely know about it, Bewitching said slowly. At this moment, Ao Lingxiao, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, There's no need to go back. I know what realm you're in now. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest couldn't help but be stunned. Their gazes fell on Ao Lingxiao. You know? That's right. Ao Lingxiao nodded. I know. Above the Purple Realm is the Starlight Realm. You're in the Starlight Realm now. Ao Lingxiao looked at Bewitching and the rest, then continued, Have stars condensed in your dantian? Bailey Hongzhuang looked inside and realized that the situation was as Ao Lingxiao said. That's right, stars have really condensed. This is the Starlight Realm. The way to determine the cultivation level is very simple. The Starlight Realm is divided into 9 levels. 1 star is Starlight Stage 1, 2 stars is Starlight Stage 2. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest immediately understood. So it seems that I'm now a Star Aurora Rank 1 cultivator. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly said. I'm in Starlight Stage 2. Bewitching said. Mo Yunjue nodded. I'm the same. From the looks of it, you guys should have increased by 3 levels, Xiren said. This increase doesn't seem to be as great as when you were in the blood refining tower. No, that's not how you judge it. Ao Lingxiao shook his head. Breaking through from the Purple Realm to the Starlight Realm may seem like it's only 1 level of difference, but it's extremely difficult to cross. These 2 levels were completely different realms. If one wanted to go from the 9th level of the Purple Realm to the 1st level of the Astral Realm, one would need a certain amount of luck or a huge amount of help. Otherwise, it would be too difficult to make the leap. On this Penglai Island, many cultivators were stuck at the Purple Realm level 9 and were unable to step into the Astral level 1. It can only be said that the Demon Training Tower's inheritance is truly amazing, to actually be able to help you directly cross this barrier. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but feel surprised when they heard Ao Lingxiao's words. They had never thought that it would be so difficult to break through. From the looks of it, we've really gained a huge advantage. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. Although she didn't know much about this, she could tell from Ao Lingxiao's serious expression that he was telling the truth. However, after thinking about it carefully, she also felt that Ao Lingxiao's words were very reasonable. The Purple Realm and the Astral Realm were already different. Naturally, they were 2 completely different realms. Chapter 3804. Hearing Shangguan Yingying's praise, Ao Lingxiao smiled faintly, but his gaze couldn't help but fall on Bewitching. He had already made up his mind that as long as Bewitching could successfully obtain the inheritance, he would tell Bewitching about it. Thinking of this, Ao Lingxiao opened his mouth and said, Bewitching. However, at this moment, a knock on the door suddenly sounded. Hearing the knock, everyone in the room couldn't help but look at each other, not knowing who would come looking for them at this time. As the door opened, everyone saw the person who came, and a hint of surprise appeared on everyone's faces. Young Master D, Miss Bailey, I really have to congratulate you today. Steward Qin's face was filled with a happy smile, and there was no lack of surprise in the depths of his eyes. Although he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came to Penglai for the murderous aura field, he never thought that they would actually be able to obtain it. After all, every cultivator who came to the Demon Training Tower wanted to obtain the murderous aura field, but in the end, it was rare to be able to obtain it. However, this time, 3 inheritors suddenly appeared. Even as the steward of the Demon Training Tower, he was extremely surprised. Thank you, Steward Qin. Bewitching cupped his fists. I didn't expect young Master Mo to be good friends with you. It's rare for the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower to appear, and the moment it appeared, it fell on you guys. It's really amazing. We were just lucky. Mo Yunjue said. Steward Qin waved his hand. If it was anything else, it would be fine, but the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower relies on strength, so there's no possibility of it being fake. Actually, I don't have any other intentions for coming here. I'm just here to congratulate you guys. For so long, the Demon Training Tower hasn't had an inheritor, and many people thought that it was impossible to succeed. Now that you guys have succeeded, it really makes my Demon Training Tower appear in everyone's eyes once again. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had obtained the inheritance, which could be said to be a great benefit, Steward Qin didn't care at all. Such an inheritance could be obtained by those with strength. The reason why it was impossible to obtain it was undoubtedly because one's strength wasn't strong enough. Actually, with this kind of inheritance, the Demon Training Tower should be the most powerful force on Penglai Island. Unfortunately, the chance of obtaining the inheritance was too small. Many cultivators had already thought that it was impossible. In addition, the atmosphere of the Demon Training Tower was very cruel and bloody, so many cultivators didn't come. Regarding this, he felt extremely helpless. He had always hoped that the Demon Training Tower would be able to flourish. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 had obtained the inheritance one after another, it was tantamount to promoting the Devil Training Pagoda. Since Mo Yunjue had obtained the inheritance, the number of cultivators who came to the Devil Training Pagoda had been increasing. He believed that once the news of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching also receiving the inheritance spread out, there would definitely be more cultivators coming. Therefore, he had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. At the same time, he was amazed by their strength. The friends of geniuses were all geniuses. This was completely true. Hearing Steward Qin's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others laughed. Steward Qin, in the end, we still took advantage of this matter. Chapter 3805. However, I can guarantee that as long as you are in the residential area or the cultivation area, there will be no cultivators who will disturb you. Thank you, Steward Qin. Bewitching said. You're welcome. As they sent Steward Qin off, they also discovered that there were many cultivators outside the house looking into the house. It was obvious that they wanted to ask them about the secret to passing the trial. However, when they closed the door, no one came to disturb them. It was obvious that Steward Qin had appeared. Fortunately, Steward Qin appeared. Otherwise, we would have been in trouble for the next few days. Xiren sighed with emotion. Although he only took a simple glance outside, he also felt that the number of people was astonishing. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head. Previously, when Yunju obtained the inheritance, there were many people looking for her. However, more people thought that it was a coincidence, so the number of people was a bit smaller. Now that Bei Chen and I have also succeeded, everyone thinks that we have the secret. Naturally, the number of people is quite astonishing. In my opinion, we can't stay in this demon training tower for long. It's actually very troublesome to attract too much attention. Bewitching slowly said, after Xiren and Yingying have finished, we will set off for the Penglai Palace. All right. Xiren nodded. Yingying and I are about to break through in the next 2 days. After we break through, we will go and pass the trial. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze couldn't help but fall on Ao Lingxiao, and said, Ao Lingxiao, what did you want to say to Beichen before? After Bailey Hongzhuang's reminder, everyone remembered that Ao Lingxiao had indeed wanted to talk to Beichen about something, but was disturbed by the appearance of Steward Qin. Ao Lingxiao was slightly stunned, then waved his hand and said, nothing. Seeing that, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Ao Lingxiao thoughtfully. She felt that Ao Lingxiao's expression when he opened his mouth was a bit complicated, and it didn't seem like he was going to talk about something unimportant. However, since Ao Lingxiao was unwilling to say anything, there was no point in her continuing to ask. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching had also successfully obtained the inheritance, when Xiren and Shangguan Yingying began their closed-door training wholeheartedly. Now that 3 people in their team had successfully obtained the inheritance, they naturally wanted to succeed as well. The news of 3 inheritors appearing in the demon training tower spread like the wind through the entire Penglai Island. For a moment, the demon training tower became a hot place. All the cultivators who felt that they had a glimmer of hope rushed towards the demon training tower without stopping, and the number of cultivators who were rejected by the trial area was even more shocking. Penglai Palace. Yanwei, this is really a big deal. Yizihua walked into Long Yanwei's residence with a face full of smiles. Now, he really couldn't help but admire Long Yanwei's foresight. He had really dug up a treasure. What happened? Long Yanwei looked at Yizihua. Judging from your expression, it doesn't seem like something big happened. Yizihua shook his head. No, something big did happen this time. It's just a good thing. Good thing? Long Yanwei raised his eyebrows. After thinking for a moment, he couldn't think of a good thing that could have happened. He said, don't keep me in suspense. Didn't you specially come here to talk about something? Just say it directly. Chapter 3806. Recently, the Demon Training Pagoda has been in the limelight, because after so long, another inheritor has finally appeared. A few days ago, an inheritor appeared, and now, 2 more inheritors have appeared. Recently, many cultivators have been rushing to the Demon Training Pagoda, wanting to take advantage of this wave of craze to see if they have this luck. Yizihua said. Hearing this, Long Yanwei couldn't help but chuckle. The inheritance of the Demon Training Pagoda completely relies on strength and has nothing to do with luck. Those fellows who want to try their luck are just indulging in fantasy. However, this is the good news of the demon training pagoda. What does it have to do with us? When Long Yanwei finished speaking, he seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and his expression suddenly changed. Could it be that the cultivator who obtained the inheritance is a disciple of our Penglai Palace? Yi Zihua smiled and nodded. Your reaction isn't too slow. Previously, Beichen and the others said that they wanted to go to the demon training pagoda to explore and see if they could obtain the inheritance. Long Yanwei narrowed his eyes. The people who obtained the inheritance couldn't be them, right? You guessed it right. Yi Zihua's face was full of smiles. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen both obtained the inheritance, and now the entire Penglai Palace is talking about them, and now they're famous again. Now it seems that these two little fellows are really geniuses. Back then, obtaining the inheritance of the blood training pagoda was already very impressive, and now they even obtained the inheritance of the demon training pagoda. After the palace master heard this news, he was very happy. Originally, this matter would make the demon training pagoda famous, but Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were disciples of the Penglai Palace, so the Penglai Palace was also in the limelight. Needless to say, this time, the number of cultivators who want to join the Penglai Palace will definitely reach a new high. Even though he had such a guess, after receiving Yi Zihua's confirmation, Long Yanwei still felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. I didn't think that they would actually succeed. Yeah. Yi Zihua's black eyes were filled with admiration. Yanwei, now everyone is talking about your discerning eyes. Previously, I thought that the price of using 3 demon pet eggs to recruit them was a bit too high, but now, it seems that it's all worth it. The corners of Long Yanwei's lips slowly curled up into an arc. From the looks of it, I've hit the jackpot. There are a total of 3 cultivators who have recently obtained inheritances in the demon training tower. Currently, many forces have already gone to recruit them. The Hall Master hopes that we can recruit them as well. Long Yanwei was surprised when he heard this. There's actually a third person? Does this person not belong to any faction? This person has also just arrived at Penglai Island from the outside world. Now, he has already become a character that all the major powers are fighting to invite. We have to hurry and head to the demon training tower. Long Yanwei frowned. I've never been good at this kind of thing, so I won't go. That won't do. The Hall Master has clearly said that you must go. Why should I go there? Long Yanwei shook his head. It was just a coincidence that I recruited Di Beichen and the others. Purposely going outside to recruit cultivators is not something I like to do. You don't know this. This cultivator is a friend of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The Hall Master thinks that with your relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, once you make a move, you will definitely be able to recruit this cultivator back. Yi Zihua said with a smile. Chapter 3807. This cultivator and Hongzhuang know each other? Long Yanwei looked at Yi Zihua in disbelief. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Yi Zihua nodded. Yes, this news is already well known. It seems that the cultivator came from the outside world to find them, and now they have successfully met. In my opinion, our Penglai Palace has the highest chance of success. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen are both in Penglai Palace. Since the cultivator came to find them, he should not join other forces. If the 3 inheritors are all disciples of our Penglai Palace, then it will be really glorious. Long Yanwei had completely understood at this moment. His thoughts were the same as the palace masters. The cultivator would most likely join their Penglai Palace. I didn't expect that the cultivators in the outside world are so amazing. Long Yanwei sighed. No one in Penglai Island has succeeded in obtaining this inheritance for so many years, but the 3 little guys in the outside world have obtained it. This is really exciting. You'd better pack up and get ready to go now. Although our Penglai Palace has the highest chance of success in this matter, if we fail, I'm afraid the palace master will be very unhappy. It seems that I can't avoid this matter. Wait for me for a moment. I'll pack up and leave. Chu Yunyao also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had obtained the inheritance, and her face suddenly became extremely ugly. Damn it, I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's luck to be so good. She even succeeded in breaking through the magic training tower. Chu Yunyao's face could not hide the anger, and she reached out and directly threw the teacup to the ground. What she wanted was for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to be covered in dirt. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang was in the limelight, how could she not be angry? After hearing the news, Chu Yunshang's eyes also darkened. Yunyao, I'm afraid you're in big trouble this time. You didn't succeed last time. This time, once Bailey Hongzhuang and others come back, it will be very difficult for you to deal with them again. Listening to Chu Yunshang's words, Chu Yunyao was non-committal. The murderous aura is indeed powerful, but I can still fight against them. Sister, why do you have to boost the morale of others and diminish your own? Chu Yunshang shook her head. I'm not trying to boost his morale. I'm just telling the truth. It is said that as long as one obtains the inheritance of the Devil Training Tower, one's cultivation will increase by a lot. Previously, although the cultivation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others was slightly weaker than yours, after they return this time, their strength might not be weaker than yours. They might even be stronger than you. Ha! Chu Yunyao chuckled. Elder sister, aren't you being too paranoid? Back then, Bailey Hongzhuang was only at the 6th level of the Purple Realm. Even if her cultivation had increased, could it be that she could advance to the Astral Radiance Realm? Aren't you about to break through to the Starlight Realm? With your help, do you still need to worry about Bailey Hongzhuang and others? After thinking for a moment, Chu Yunshang said in a deep voice, Bailey Hongzhuang and others can't be underestimated. I'll try to successfully break through to the Astral Radiance Realm before they come back. In this way, if they really come to find trouble, we don't have to worry too much. Since you can't go out recently, you might as well cultivate in seclusion and strive to improve your cultivation. Chapter 3808. Even if it's very difficult to break through, you can't slack off. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao helplessly. Since the incident with Duan Huali, Chu Yunyao not only changed her temperament, but also did not practice as hard as before. In this regard, she felt extremely helpless, but there was nothing she could do. Where did I slack off? Chu Yunyao looked unhappy. I'm just not as lucky as you. Why do you always speak with such an attitude now? I'm your sister. Can't you talk to me properly? Everything I do is for your own good. Chu Yunshang looked at Chu Yunyao earnestly. We can't limit our eyes to this. There is a wider world behind. Are you going to stay here all the time? You have to think about it. Even if you insist on liking Duan Huali, once Duan Huali enters the Star Realm, he and you will not be in the same world. Don't be fooled by how Duan Huali likes to flirt with other women. He is very attentive towards cultivation. Chu Yunyao originally wanted to refute Chu Yunshang, but when she heard Chu Yunshang's words, she couldn't help falling into silence. Seeing that Chu Yunyao finally listened to her words, Chu Yunshang continued, Don't look at Bailey Hongzhuang and others who are weaker than you before. They are people who are favored by the Hall Master and Long Darren. After staying in Penglai Palace for so long, you should also know a lot of practitioners. Although their strength was not very good before, their later development is very amazing. During this time, Hyun-jun also helped me inquire about a lot of news. As far as I know, Bailey Hongzhuang and others are extremely hardworking in cultivation. They have only been in Penglai Island for a short time, but the progress of their cultivation base is very terrible. Not only that, from their ability to fight beyond their level, you can know how solid their basic skills are. Since you've already offended such an opponent, you have to be more careful. Once they become stronger, you'll be the one in trouble. Chu Yunshang looked slightly dignified. Since knowing that Chu Yunyao was going to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang and others, she had a bad feeling in her heart. If she offended other practitioners, it would be fine, but it was such a practitioner who was favored by everyone. She was very clear how shrewd the Hall Master's vision was, and Long Yanwei had seen countless people. Since he could be favored by them, he would not be a simple person in the future. Now Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching have obtained the inheritance of the Demon Training Tower, which proves their strength and talent. Chu Yunyao's eyes darkened. Is too exaggerated. But sister, you are exaggerating. But there, it. And I. Wait. 2. We. Chapter 3809. After passing the trial, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen rested for 2 days. Although it was only a short 3 days, this kind of test was very tiring for them. They didn't feel tired physically, but they were mentally exhausted. This exhaustion was filled with vicissitudes. Breaking through the inner demons was extremely difficult, and they didn't want to think about the scene when they broke through. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had a tacit understanding not to ask each other what they had seen in the last assessment. In fact, they also had some guesses in their hearts. After all, they knew each other very well. Shangguan Yingying and Wen Ziren entered closed-door cultivation wholeheartedly. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had both obtained inheritances, the pressure on them had increased. Once they succeeded, their strength would improve rapidly. Otherwise, the gap between their cultivations would be completely widened. With such a huge gap between them, it would be impossible for them to catch up without some kind of special opportunity. As companions, they naturally didn't want to be left behind like this. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two obtain inheritances, Ao Lingxiao couldn't hold back anymore. Back then, he had indeed failed to pass the trial in the demon training tower. However, after learning some experiences from Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, he couldn't help but want to give it a try. After all, he was already here. If he could obtain an inheritance, it would be a good thing. As a result, while Ziren and Di Beichen were still in closed-door cultivation, Ao Lingxiao directly went to pass the trial. However, Ao Lingxiao's attempt didn't go as smoothly as he had expected. In the end, he still failed. Ao Lingxiao, the trial itself is a bit abnormal. Once you overcome your inner demons, this shouldn't be a problem. Di Beichen patted Ao Lingxiao's shoulder and comforted him. Hearing that, Ao Lingxiao smiled. My inner demons aren't as strong as yours. I already knew that when I came to pass the trial. Originally, when I saw you succeed, I also wanted to give it a try. However, the final result was still not enough. It doesn't matter. If we don't succeed this time, we can always try again, Bailey Hongzhuang said. However, Ao Lingxiao waved his hand. This matter has already become my inner demon. How difficult is it to overcome it? After saying that, Ao Lingxiao didn't say anything else and directly walked towards his residence. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. I think there's something wrong with Ao Lingxiao. His face is somewhat pale, and he seems to have lost his soul. It seems that the situation is as he said. That is no longer a demonic barrier, but a heart demon. Otherwise, his expression wouldn't be so ugly. Di Beichen's deep eyes flickered with the light of contemplation. Everyone would see something they didn't want to see the most during the assessment. It was just that some people could accept such a scene, while others could not. Judging from Ao Lingxiao's soulless expression, this scene was something he couldn't accept. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such an expression. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She faintly felt that Ao Lingxiao's current special personality might have something to do with something he couldn't accept. Chapter 3810. Ever since Ao Lingxiao failed the test, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had not seen him leave his room for a few days. Looks like Ao Lingxiao has a lot of sad things to worry about. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in such a state for so many days. Ziren walked out of his room after successfully breaking through to the 7th level of the Purple Realm. He couldn't help but sigh after knowing about Ao Lingxiao's situation. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Anyway, we're not in a hurry to leave. We'll just wait for him to straighten out his thoughts. Ziren, you've already broken through. Yingying should be breaking through soon, right? That's right. Ziren nodded. Yingying's speed is slightly slower than mine. However, it should be tomorrow. Cultivating in this cultivation area is indeed quite fast. Just as everyone was conversing, a familiar voice suddenly entered their ears. You little fellows are really here. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others quickly turned around. As expected, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua were walking towards them with smiles on their faces. Master Long, Instructor Yi. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others bowed with a trace of astonishment in their eyes. Why are you guys here? As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others spoke, Mo Yunjue's gaze also fell on Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua. So this person was the Master Long that everyone was talking about. Yi Zihua didn't immediately reply to Bailey Hongzhuang. Instead, his gaze quietly fell on Mo Yunjue. Mo Yunjue was wearing a black robe. His handsome face exuded a bone-chilling coldness, and his eyes were also cold. Just as the rumors said, this Mo Yunjue was a cold person. If I'm not wrong, this should be Mo Yunjue, young Master Mo? I am indeed Mo Yunjue. Mo Yunjue cupped his hands and said. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others suddenly understood. It turned out that Master Long and Master Long came for Mo Yunjue. However, this was within their expectations. They just did not expect Penglai Palace to let Long Yanwei and Master Long come to recruit him. In the past few days, many forces had come to recruit him, but they were all rejected by Mo Yunjue. Now that they had reunited, there was no reason for them to separate. As expected, heroes come from the young. Young Master Mo was able to obtain the legacy of the Devil Training Tower at such a young age. You are truly a hero of this generation, Yi Zihua said with a smile. Senior, you flatter me. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other, finding it very funny. Usually when they saw Yi Zihua, he had the appearance of a mentor. At this moment, seeing Yi Zihua say such words to recruit people, it was really different from his usual style. Master Long, Mentor Yi, there are many people here. Why don't we go inside and talk? Bewitching said. Long Yanwei nodded, subconsciously looked around and nodded, okay. After everyone walked into the house, everyone's expressions also relaxed and easygoing. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were most familiar with Long Yanwei and Master Long in Penglai Palace. Even if the two were seniors, they were also very casual. Master Long, Mentor Yi, you came this time to recruit Yunju, right? Xiren said with a smile. Chapter 38:11. Master Long, didn't I rip you off last time? You've been looking at me like that ever since. Isn't this too depressing for me? When Xiren's face suddenly fell. The last time he ripped off Master Long, it was really a great deal for them. However, since then, he had been labeled as a treacherous person in Master Long's heart. When Xiren also felt very helpless about this. This was not the result he wanted. Looking at when Xiren's appearance, Long Yanwei could not help but chuckle. Forget it, you don't have to act pitiful in front of me. Do you think I don't know that this is all an act? Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching also had a smile in their eyes. Master Long was only like this on the surface. In fact, he had always been very good to them. Even when he was ripped off before, Master Long had never cared. Right? Why isn't Shangguan Yingying here? Long Yanwei looked at Xiren and the others. One had to know that the four of them had always been together. Yingying is cultivating in seclusion. She will soon break through to the 7th level of the Purple Realm. Xiren smiled faintly. Hearing this, Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua looked at each other. They could not help but sigh in their hearts. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' improvement speed was really not slow. When they first joined the Penglai Palace, they were only at the 5th level of the Purple Realm. Now, in just a few short months, they were about to break through to the 7th level of the Purple Realm. Xiren and Shangguan Yingying already had this kind of strength before they even passed the level, not to mention Bailey Hongzhuang and the others who had already passed the level. At this moment, even Long Yanwei himself was a little emotional. The reason why he had recruited Bailey Hongzhuang and the others was because of their outstanding combat strength. More importantly, it was because Bailey Hongzhuang's special contract beast that attracted his attention. However, he himself did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to be so outstanding, far exceeding his expectations. So that's how it is. The speed of your improvement is really fast. Yi Zihua said with a smile. Previously, you were accepted as Inner Palace disciples because of an exception. After you return this time, you will truly have the qualifications to become Inner Palace disciples. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other and smiled. Indeed, when they were in the inner hall, they did not have a proper status. The way everyone looked at them made them feel very unhappy. After he returned, he believed that no one would bring up this matter again. After all, they had been looked down upon by everyone, and they were very unhappy in their hearts. Young Master Mo, I wonder if you are willing to join our Penglai Palace? Long Yanwei looked at Mo Yunjue. His usually dignified face was now amiable and approachable. Beichen and the others are inner palace disciples of our Penglai Palace. Since you are friends with them, why don't you join Penglai Palace as well? Mo Yunjue looked at Long Yanwei. He had come this time to help Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Now that Di Beichen's physique problem had been solved, and everyone was not ready to leave for the time being, he would naturally stay here for a while. Moreover, he also found that cultivating here was very helpful in improving his strength. Thinking of this, Mo Yunjue was about to agree. At this moment, Xiren's voice suddenly rang out. Chapter 38:12. Although Yunju and we are good friends and it is indeed more convenient for him to join Penglai Palace, isn't it too insincere for you to ask Yunju to join just like that? When Xiren looked at Long Yanwei, the other forces have all offered all kinds of good conditions for Yunju to consider. I know that our Penglai Palace is the leader of the forces on Penglai Island, but since we have specially recruited him, we should give him some good treatment. Yunju is the first inheritor of the demon training tower after 100 years. Listening to Wen Xiren's words, Long Yanwei said helplessly, I knew from the beginning that you were up to something, but you didn't admit it. Now look, forget it, tell me what conditions do you want? Yizihua also smiled and shook his head. Long Yanwei had completely fallen into the hands of these little guys. Although the performance of these little guys was really outstanding and gave Long Yanwei face, these little guys were not soft-hearted when it came to extorting. Thinking of this, Yizihua quietly glanced at Long Yanwei. Only then did he realize that although Long Yanwei's face revealed a helpless expression, the depths of his eyes were clearly overflowing with a smile. Obviously, Long Yanwei was not unhappy about this matter. When Xiren smiled brightly and walked to Long Yanwei's side, Master Long, we won't make any excessive conditions. Yunju is a genius. Since he wants to join Penglai Palace, the treatment can't be too good, but at least it can't be worse than ours. Why don't you give him a contract beast? As his voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' eyes also fell on Long Yanwei. In fact, they were just giving it a try. If Long Yanwei could give Mo Yunjue a contract beast, it would naturally be the best. This was also what Mo Yunjue needed. However, if Long Yanwei was unwilling, Mo Yunjue still had to join Penglai Palace. They all understood in their hearts that Long Yanwei had already made an exception by being able to take 3 contract beasts from him. If Long Yanwei was unwilling, they would not force him. Long Yanwei glanced at Xiren. I knew that you guys had the idea of my demon pet egg. Presumably, before I came, you guys had already made up your mind, right? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled slightly. Long Yanwei's guess was right. They had indeed thought of all this a long time ago. Seeing that Long Yanwei wasn't angry, Mo Yunjue's smile widened a little. It seemed that this matter really had a chance. Yun's words, Yunju, you can give him a demon pet egg, even if it's to give the demon training tower face, you can give him a demon pet egg. The smile on Wen Xiren's face became even more brilliant. Anyway, this demon pet egg is also a reward for other disciples. It's the same. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang also said, Master Long, Yunju's strength is very outstanding. This kind of recruitment condition is actually not excessive. That's right, Master Long. You won't be disappointed. Mo Yunjue said. Mo Yunjue also cupped his hands towards Long Yanwei. Master Long, if you agree, I will join Penglai Palace. Chapter 38:13. Hearing this, Yizihua couldn't help but chuckle. Then there's no other way. I can't refuse them. The demon pet egg is yours, so you can only make your own decision. Since you're all saying the same thing, if I don't agree, it would seem that I'm unreasonable. Since that's the case, then I'll agree to it. Long Yanwei said with a smile. In fact, before he set off, he had already expected such a situation. What's more, Mo Yunjue was a cultivation genius, so the conditions offered by the other forces would definitely not be bad. Even if Mo Yunjue and Bailey Hongzhuang were good friends, if they wanted to pull Mo Yunjue over without paying anything, it would indeed be a bit of ancient Buddha's kindness. He believed that the reason why the palace master asked him to come here was also because of this. Seeing that Long Yanwei directly agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but have a thick smile on their faces. "Thank you, Master Long," Mo Yunjue and the others said in unison. "Since young Master Mo has already agreed to join the Penglai Palace, then the purpose of our trip has been achieved." Long Yanwei slowly opened his mouth. "As for the demon pet egg, you can come to me to choose when you return to the Penglai Palace. How about it?" Mo Yunjue nodded, cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Master Long, you're welcome, it's what I should do." Yizihua smiled as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. He felt that Long Yanwei really liked these little fellows, so when he was with them, he would make exceptions again and again. However, to be honest, these little fellows were indeed hard to dislike. "When do you plan to return to the Penglai Palace?" Yizihua asked. "After Yingying breaks through, I will go with Yingying to challenge the trial. After the trial is over, we will return," Wen Ziren said. Yizihua's eyes flashed with understanding. "Shangguan Yingying should be able to break through soon, right?" Ziren nodded. "It should be tonight. Yanwei, since they're going back in a few days, why don't we stay here for a few more days? When the time comes, we can go back together with them. I just happen to want to take a look at the Devil Training Tower." Hearing Yizihua's words, Long Yanwei replied, "Sure, this Devil Training Pagoda has been very lively recently. This time, you guys have successfully passed the Demon Training Tower. This is a big limelight. Now, in the entire Penglai Palace, you guys are in the limelight. If this continues, some disciples of the Inner Palace will be dissatisfied. You have only joined the Penglai Palace for a few months, and almost all the hot news is related to you." Yizihua's eyes swept over Bailey Hongzhuang and the others one by one. What he said was really true. The matter of Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine was not over yet, and now there was such news. In the past few months, every sensational news was caused by them. "You can't blame us for this." Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands. Actually, they were very innocent. From the beginning to the end, they did not want to be in the limelight. It was just that in the end, this matter fell on their heads. This matter was caused by Master Long. If we attract public anger, Master Long will have to help us. Di Beichen's lips slowly hooked up into an evil smile. Speaking of which, if Long Yuanwei had not recruited them back, there would not have been so many things that would have happened. Chapter 38:14. All of a sudden, the atmosphere in the room became extremely harmonious. Long Yanwei and Yizihua were not arrogant people. In addition, they had a very familiar relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang and others. Everyone didn't care at all. "I heard that you issued a bounty to take Chu Yunyao's life?" Yizihua looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. This matter was very loud. When the bounty was just issued, the entire Penglai Palace also broke out in a frenzy. No one expected that Bailey Hongzhuang would have a conflict with Chu Yunyao, and Bailey Hongzhuang's bounty was issued so blatantly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "Yes, I have some grudges with Chu Yunyao. I didn't mean to stop you. I just heard the news and wanted to confirm it with you." Yizihua said, "What happened in Qingshan before is also related to you, right?" Bailey Hongzhuang and others looked at each other and admitted it. Yizihua had always been well informed. No matter what the news was, it could not be hidden from him. Since he asked now, he must have already confirmed the news. This bounty is extremely effective for hunting down the cultivators outside the forces, but it is not so easy to deal with the cultivators inside the forces. As long as Chu Yunyao does not leave the Penglai Palace, the possibility of the success of this bounty is very small. Long Yanwei reminded. He was no stranger to Chu Yunyao. This woman's strength was good, but she always liked to cause trouble, and the trouble she caused was not small. In contrast, he felt that Chu Yunyao's sister Chu Yunshang was much better. Hearing the concern in Long Yanwei's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression softened a little. "Thank you for your concern, Master Long, but I didn't intend to take her life through this bounty. I just gave her a warning first. As for the real end of the grudge, I have to do it myself." Her ink-black phoenix-like eyes flashed with a cold and resolute light. Chu Yunyao tortured Shangguan Yingying like that and seriously injured her. If she didn't get back at her, it would not be her style. Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua also understood the meaning behind Bailey Hongzhuang's words. It seemed that the enmity between the two of them could not be resolved. Forget it. You can deal with the matters between you disciples yourselves. We won't interfere. Yi Zihua smiled faintly. You guys should rest well. We'll go take a look at the other places in the demon training tower. After Long Yanwei and the other two left, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three sat in the house with joyful smiles on their faces. I didn't think that Master Long would agree so easily this time. I thought it would take some effort. When Xiren chuckled. He had always heard that Long Yanwei was very stingy when it came to demon pet eggs. It was too difficult for ordinary people to get a demon pet egg from him. However, in his opinion, Master Long was very generous. Thank you so much for this matter. If you didn't speak, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to obtain this demon pet egg. Mo Yunjue cupped his fists and thanked him. With his personality, he would never ask for help. Therefore, even though when Xiren had already told him that he could raise this condition, he did not say it out loud. Chapter 38:15. Listening to Mo Yunjue's words, when Xiren waved his hand and said, "You're welcome. We are all friends. There is no need to thank me for such a small thing. It's your first time meeting Master Long and the others, so it's not good for you to ask. However, we're already familiar with Master Long. Although Master Long usually acts very stingy, he's actually not stingy. He's especially very generous to cultivators with strength." Although Xiren often extorted Master Long, in fact he valued Master Long very much in his heart. He knew very well that Master Long was very tolerant of them. If not, Master Long would not have helped them time and time again. If Master Long did not want to agree, even if he tried his best to extort him, it would be useless. In the end, this was Master Long's own idea. "Hongzhuang, it seems that your bounty this time is not small. The entire Penglai Palace already knows about it. Presumably, Chu Yunyao must be very depressed now. The effect you want has been achieved." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, with a faint smile on her lips. "Chu Yunyao has brought us so much trouble. Naturally, we can't let her be happy. Let her suffer during this time. When we go back, she will not be as simple as suffering." At night, as Xiren expected, Shangguan Yingying successfully broke through to the 7th level of the Purple Realm. "I finally succeeded in breaking through." A happy smile appeared on Shangguan Yingying's face. She quickly walked out of the house and couldn't wait to tell Bailey Hongzhuang the news of her breakthrough. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled and congratulated them. "Then tomorrow you can go to the challenge area to try it out." Shangguan Yingying nodded. "I also want to see how perverted the content of the challenge is. If I can pass it, that would be great. Let's do our best." Xiren smiled casually, but there was a firm and persistent light in the depths of his eyes. When he was in the blood refining tower, he was unable to obtain the inheritance. This time he came to the demon refining tower, he hoped that he could succeed once. "After you are done, we can return to the Penglai Palace." When Shangguan Yingying found out that Long Yanwei had personally come to recruit Mo Yunjue, her eyes flashed with deep surprise. "Yunjue, I never thought that you would actually have such face to be able to make Lord Long personally come to recruit you. I'm sure that when we return, the treatment will definitely not be bad. Although you are temporarily an outer disciple after going to Penglai Palace, I believe that you will soon be promoted to an inner disciple. After all, your strength is enough," Bewitching said slowly. The next day, at dawn, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others headed to the challenge area. When they arrived at the challenge area, they found that it was already filled with cultivators. In the past few days, more and more people had come to the challenge area. Now, if they wanted to go through the challenge area, they had to queue up. Upon realizing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others felt helpless. The challenge area is really too popular now. It seems that you will have to wait for a while before you can go in. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. Before this, the challenge area had always been very deserted. There was no need to wait at all. Chapter 38:16. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others appeared in the trial area, everyone's gazes fell on them. Right now, They were all popular figures in the demon training tower. Everyone wanted to get close to them, but unfortunately, ever since they succeeded in passing the trial, they had been cultivating and did not appear at all. Not only that, the demon training tower had also made a rule that they were not allowed to casually disturb Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Thus, even if they wanted to get close to them, they could only watch from the side and not dare to disturb them. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to come here again. It seems that this time, it should be Wenziren and Shangguan Yingying who are going to break through. You guessed right, they are all here to break through. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have succeeded, they must have told the secret to Wenziren and Shangguan Yingying. Maybe they can also succeed this time. I don't really believe that. The assessment of the demon training tower is aimed at the heart of a cultivator. If the heart is not strong enough to break through the demon barrier, then it will be impossible to succeed. The so-called experience is actually not very useful. That's true. Everyone nodded their heads. There were already many cultivators present who had tried to pass the trial, so they had a certain understanding of the content of the trial. It was just that they were unable to succeed the first time, so they tried many times in a row but still failed. Not long after, it was Wenziren and Shangguan Yingying's turn. We're going in. Good luck. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others said together. After Wenziren and Shangguan Yingying entered the trial area, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others waited outside the trial. It was hard to say whether or not Wenziren and his companion would succeed. In any case, they planned to wait here for the next 3 days. This way, if they succeeded, they would be able to share the joy immediately. After Long Yanwei and Yi Zihua strolled around the demon training tower, they went to see Steward Qin. When Steward Qin saw the two of them, he was very envious. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were all disciples of the Penglai Palace. This was truly a glorious moment. Although they had been in the limelight in the Magic Tower recently, the cultivators who had obtained the inheritance all came from the Penglai Palace. It could be assumed that the Penglai Palace's glory was no less than the Magic Tower's. It was a pity that the main purpose of the demonic training tower was to allow cultivators to come here to challenge the challenges, as there was no sect here. Otherwise, he would have already recruited Bailey Hongzhuang and the others into his sect. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were waiting in the challenge area, Ao Lingxiao, who had disappeared for a few days, finally appeared in front of them. Seeing Ao Lingxiao's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but smile. Ziren and the others have already started? Ao Lingxiao asked. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's right. They just went in today. By the way, you have been busy cultivating these few days. Yesterday, Master Long and Mentor Yi came over. Now, Yunju is also a disciple of our Penglai Palace. Master Long and the others came personally? Ao Lingxiao was very surprised. He had stayed in the Penglai Palace for a period of time, so he naturally knew that Master Long and Mentor Yi didn't need to personally come to recruit disciples. Chapter 38:17. Yes, I didn't expect Master Long and the others to come personally. Even we were very surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It seemed that the cultivators who obtained the inheritance of the demon training pagoda had always been valued by the major forces. With Mo Yunjue's strength, it's normal for him to receive such treatment. Ao Lingxiao smiled and turned his gaze to Mo Yunjue. With your current strength, no matter which sect you join, you will be valued more. Even on the Penglai Island, there are very few cultivators in the Star Realm. The Penglai Palace is already the largest force on the Penglai Island. It's naturally great that I can join. Mo Yunjue's eyes rippled with a trace of light. In fact, it didn't matter to him which force he joined. He only came here to meet up with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. It was naturally excellent to be able to improve his strength. He also knew very well that he would not stay in the Penglai Palace forever. At this time, Ao Lingxiao's gaze turned to Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen and said, Di Beichen, I have something to tell you. Hearing this, Di Beichen looked at Ao Lingxiao in surprise, but still nodded and said, okay. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Ao Lingxiao thoughtfully. Earlier, she felt that Ao Lingxiao seemed to have something to tell them, but was interrupted by the appearance of Steward Qin. Now, Ao Lingxiao specially came to find Bewitching. Could it be that he wanted to tell them the reason why he had been following them all this time? Yunjue, then we will leave for a while. Bewitching said. Mo Yunjue nodded. You guys go. When Bewitching left, he also pulled Bailey Hongzhuang with him. For him, there was no news that he couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang know. Ao Lingxiao was not surprised to see Bewitching's actions. After all, he had always seen the relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. These two people had no secrets to speak of. Even in the entire Penglai Island, there were very few couples who had such a good relationship like them. After Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two returned to the house, Bewitching looked at Ao Lingxiao and said, "Just say what you want to say." Ao Lingxiao's expression was complicated as he looked at Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not immediately speak, but fell into silence. In fact, until now, he did not know what to say. Bewitching, I want to confirm something with you first. If it is confirmed, then I will say it. If not, then my judgment is wrong. Ao Lingxiao said. Bewitching nodded slightly and said, Okay, say it. I want to ask, since you were born, have you always been with your parents? As soon as the words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching could not help but look at each other. A touch of surprise appeared in their eyes. They did not expect that Ao Lingxiao wanted to confirm this question. Could it be that what he wanted to say was related to Bewitching's background? Thinking of this possibility, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's expressions became more dignified. After all, this matter had always been of great concern to them. Unfortunately, after such a long time, they could not find any clues related to Bewitching's background. Chapter 38:18. Ao Lingxiao didn't miss the shocked expressions on Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang's faces. His eyes brightened. It seemed that his guess was somewhat credible. I've never met my parents. I was adopted by my master. Bewitching spoke slowly in a deep voice. Why are you asking me this question? Actually, this is just my guess. Ao Lingxiao's expression was somewhat complicated. From the first time I saw you, I felt that your appearance was somewhat familiar. Familiar? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes brightened. Where have you seen someone who looks like Bewitching? Bewitching's appearance was so outstanding that there weren't many people who could look like him. If Ao Lingxiao had seen someone who looked like Bewitching somewhere else, perhaps that person was Bewitching's relative. That's someone from the D family. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching couldn't help but look at each other. If that person's surname was really D, then there really was some possibility. After all, the only keepsake Bewitching had on him was the jade pendant with the word "Hu" written on it. Back then, Setian had guessed that the words written on the jade pendant might be Bewitching's surname, so he named Bewitching. Could it be that the D family was really Bewitching's family? Ao Lingxiao saw that Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang's faces were filled with doubt. In his heart, he knew that Bewitching must be very curious about his background. If he only felt that Bewitching's appearance was somewhat similar to that of the D family's people, then it was fine. But Bewitching was actually adopted, then perhaps his guess might be right. My clan has a certain relationship with the D clan. In the past, I've seen a portrait of a senior of the D clan in my clan. The person in that portrait was extremely similar to Bewitching. As he spoke, Ao Lingxiao's gaze landed on Bewitching. Because of this, I was very surprised when I first saw you. However, I also know that my baseless guess is very laughable and has no basis to speak of, so I have been following you all this time to confirm this point. Just because you feel that I look similar to the elders of the D clan, you feel that I'm a member of the D clan. Bewitching frowned. If Ao Lingxiao had any other evidence, he might have believed it. However, it was a bit too ridiculous to confirm this based on the similarity of their appearances. After all, there were so many people in this world, and there were definitely a lot of people who looked alike, but there was no blood relationship between them. Ao Lingxiao shook his head. No, it's not just that. What else? Bailey Hongzhuang quickly asked. This was Bewitching's obsession. She had always hoped to help Bewitching find his birth parents. Now that she finally had some clues, she naturally wouldn't want to give up. Actually, the D family lost a child more than 20 years ago. That child was the grandson of the head of the D family, Ao Lingxiao said slowly. Ao Lingxiao said slowly, all these years, the D family has been searching for his whereabouts. However, there has been no news. This is something that we all know. The D family has almost searched everywhere, but there is no trace of him. Chapter 38:19. The D family is a family of cultivators. The grandson of the head of the family must be a genius cultivator. Hearing Ao Lingxiao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were confused. Everything Ao Lingxiao said could be connected to Di Beichen. However, there should be many cultivators who fit this description. How could they be sure that this was related to Di Beichen? All these years, I have been trying to find my birth parents. However, although the things you said seem to be related to me, there is no evidence to prove it. Di Beichen's deep black eyes flashed with the light of thinking. He didn't lose his mind just because Ao Lingxiao said that this matter was related to him. Thinking about it carefully, this was just a side issue. It seemed to be related, but in reality, it was just a clue that couldn't withstand a single blow. Ao Lingxiao also knew that what he said wasn't that trustworthy. However, he had an extraordinary intuition. Although there was no reason for this intuition, it was always very accurate. He felt that Di Beichen was the person he was looking for. Actually, there is one more thing that can be confirmed. Ao Lingxiao muttered. What is it? Bailey Hongzhuang asked aloud, her ink-black phoenix eyes flashing with deep concern. If she could really be sure, then that would be great. I wonder if you have heard of the cursed body? After Ao Lingxiao said this, he felt a little complicated. Actually, this was the proof that could confirm whether Di Beichen was related to the D family. However, even he felt that this possibility wasn't very high. As Ao Lingxiao's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were both stunned. Their faces were filled with disbelief and astonishment. Apart from them, this was the first time they had heard of the cursed body from another cultivator. Ao Lingxiao naturally noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's expressions. He couldn't help but ask, "You have heard of it?" At this moment, even Ao Lingxiao found it hard to believe. The cursed body was an extremely rare body type. He felt that outside of Penglai Island, many people had never even heard of the existence of such a body type. If Bailey Hongzhuang and the others hadn't confirmed that Ao Lingxiao had never heard of Di Beichen's cursed physique, they wouldn't have believed that there was such a coincidence. Di Beichen nodded. That's right. He didn't directly say that he had the cursed physique. Instead, he looked at Ao Lingxiao. He wanted to know what Ao Lingxiao would say next. As far as I know, the lost child of the D family has the cursed body. In fact, this had always been a characteristic of the D family. Their family would often have cultivators with the cursed physique. The cursed physique was a very complicated physique. In the early stages of cultivation, it would suppress the cultivation speed of the cultivator. However, if the later stages were to transform into the heavenly mandate physique, then the cultivator would soar to the sky. It was precisely because of this that the D family was able to have such an amazing status. However, if the cultivator couldn't transform the physique, then the cultivator would gradually become paralyzed and eventually die. In the past, the D family hadn't mastered this method. However, ever since they successfully transformed the cursed physique into the heavenly mandate physique, their family had rapidly improved. Chapter 38:20. If Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were still doubtful of Ao Lingxiao's judgment, they were now certain that Di Beichen might really be related to the D family after hearing Ao Lingxiao's words. After all, if it was just based on looks, it could still be a coincidence. However, if the cursed body was the same, it could not be explained by mere coincidence. At that moment, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's feelings were complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang did not expect to find clues about Di Beichen's background here. It was really a pleasant surprise. Most importantly, according to Ao Lingxiao's words, Di Beichen's parents definitely did not abandon him on purpose. Otherwise, they would not have been searching for him all these years. This was the best news for them. She had been with Beichen for so long, so she understood Beichen's thoughts very well. In comparison, if Beichen's parents really abandoned him on purpose, Then he would rather not find Beichen's parents, so as not to add to his sadness. However, if it was not on purpose, then it should be a great comfort to Beichen. After all, no one would want to be abandoned. After Ao Lingxiao finished speaking, he realized that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang had fallen into silence. It was as if they were thinking about their own matters and did not answer his question. Seeing this, Ao Lingxiao was a little confused. He did not know if his guess was right or wrong. From Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang's expressions, he could not determine any useful information. Di Beichen's feelings were even more complicated. He had always been curious about his own background. Especially after learning about Bailey Hongzhuang's life, he also had some expectations in his heart. He hoped that he was also left behind because of some forced reasons, and not deliberately abandoned. Although he had not met anyone from the Di family yet, according to Ao Lingxiao's information, he felt that he could be the lost child of the Di family. However, this was the first time he had heard of the Di family. Actually, I have the cursed body. Di Beichen slowly spoke in a deep voice. He raised his head and looked at Ao Lingxiao. His eyes were as deep as the sea, shining brightly. Following Di Beichen's words, Ao Lingxiao could not help but be stunned. He stared at Di Beichen in a daze and could not recover for a moment. However, after he confirmed that he did not hear wrongly, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Your body physique is really the cursed body? Ao Lingxiao's gaze was fixed on Di Beichen's body. He was afraid that Di Beichen would deny it. If Di Beichen really had the cursed body, then he could say that Di Beichen was the Di family's lost young master. Di Beichen nodded, that's right. At this moment, Di Beichen finally understood why he had such a special body physique. It turned out that this was the special characteristic of the Di family. However, Ao Lingxiao could not help but frown. From what I know, the cursed body physique is an extremely rare body physique. Only the Di family has the solution to it. Logically speaking, with your current age and strength, you should not be able to stand up again. However, you are still fine. Chapter 38:21. This is all thanks to my wife. Di Beichen turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. His gaze was so gentle that it could overflow with tears. To tell you the truth, when I first met Hongzhuang, I could only sit in a wheelchair. I had thought that I would never be able to stand up again. It was Hongzhuang who healed me and gave me the chance to stand up again. This was something that Di Beichen would never forget. Back then, it was Bailey Hongzhuang who had given him hope. He could still remember the beautiful white figure who had healed him under the peach blossom tree. His wife had slowly walked into his heart from that moment onwards. At the same time, it was also from that moment onwards that he had decided that he would walk down this path with his wife for the rest of his life. Now that he recalled everything that had happened in Fengbo country, the corners of his lips could not help but curl into a smile. Even though they had been through many trials and tribulations together, it was a good thing that they were finally able to hold hands and accompany each other. Noticing the look in Di Beichen's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile blossomed like a flower. To her, the general's residence in Fengbo country was a place that she loathed the most. However, because of Di Beichen's existence, she could only remember the good times and completely forget the unbearable memories of the past. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Ao Lingxiao finally came to his senses. Bailey Hongzhuang was an outstanding doctor with exceptional medical skills. This was evident from the healing medicine that Bailey Hongzhuang had concocted. She had only been to the training grounds of the Inner Palace once, yet she was able to concoct such an effective healing medicine. This showed just how amazing her medical skills were. In that case, it was very possible that Bailey Hongzhuang had cured Di Beichen of his cursed body. I see. Ao Lingxiao stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. I never thought that junior sister Bailey would be able to cure the cursed body. I'm truly in awe of you. The cursed physique was an extremely difficult physique to break. According to what he knew back then, the Di family had spent a lot of effort to solve this problem. In the end, they had succeeded in solving this problem. Logically speaking, it was impossible for the outside world to know of the existence of the cursed body. However, not only was Bailey Hongzhuang able to diagnose Di Beichen at such a young age, but she had also helped Di Beichen change his physique. She was truly extraordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Senior brother Ao, you flatter me. Is there a D clan on Penglai Island? Why haven't I heard of it before? Di Baichen couldn't help but ask. Even though there were all sorts of big and small forces on Penglai Island, according to what he knew, the forces here were all sects and not aristocratic families. Actually, the Supreme D clan isn't here. Ao Lingxiao spoke. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Could it be in the outside world? According to what she knew, there wasn't a Supreme D clan in the outside world. If there really was one, her grandfather would have already gone to ask about it. It was impossible that there wasn't any news about Di Baichen until now. Could it be that it was a very small clan, so her grandfather didn't notice it? No. Ao Lingxiao shook his head. The Supreme D clan is in a place that is even more powerful than Penglai Island, the Upper Realm. The moment he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen couldn't help but be stunned. Their faces flashed with intense astonishment. What? There's a place that's even more powerful than Penglai Island? Chapter 3822. Hearing this news, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen looked at each other. This was beyond their expectations. When they first learned that there was a place called Penglai Island, they were already very surprised. Now that they heard from Ao Lingxiao that there was an even more powerful place, they were truly astonished. Actually, Penglai Island is just an intermediate station between the upper realm and the outside world. When the cultivators from the outside world reach a certain level of strength, they can come to Penglai Island and go to the upper realm. In the past, Penglai Island was just an island with very few cultivators. It was just a passage. However, as the number of the skeleton army gradually increased, the upper realm was worried that it would affect the lives of the people from the outside world. So, they gathered some cultivators here. Over time, Penglai Island gradually expanded to become what it is now. So that's how it is. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen suddenly understood. The upper realm is actually not much different from the outside world. It's just that the cultivators there are much stronger. When the forces that controlled the power of darkness appeared, the entire Xingqian continent was in chaos. Wars broke out everywhere, and countless experts fell. Since that war, the structure of the Xingqian continent changed. It was divided into the upper realm and the outer realm. This is because when the war broke out, the major forces worked together to separate the two continents in order to protect the ordinary people from being implicated. So, the outer realm you were in before was just the ordinary people in the past. It's just that after so many years, it has become what it is now. I didn't expect it to be like this. Di Baichen's eyes flashed with a light of surprise. He never thought that the Xingqian continent would have such a change. He thought that the place he lived in before was the most vast world. Now, he knew that it was not like that at all. It was just a corner of the world. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a bright light. She felt that the current Xingqian continent was very strange. 1,000 years ago, the cultivators in the Xingqian continent were clearly much stronger than they were now. She was wondering why, after such a long time, the cultivators' strength had not improved. Instead, it had regressed. It turned out that this was the most fundamental reason. If that was the case, then it was very likely that the powerful beings she was familiar with were currently in the upper realm. Then, would the Bailey family still exist? Back then, she had left because of an accident. Now that 1,000 years had passed, he didn't know if she was still around. Previously, when we asked Master Long about this matter, Master Long only said that we hadn't reached that level yet, so he wouldn't tell us for now. Senior brother Ao, how do you know all this? Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and beautiful eyes gazed at Ao Lingxiao. She secretly thought in her heart. As early as when she first met Ao Lingxiao, she felt that this Ao Lingxiao was very strange. It seems that Ao Lingxiao's identity was not simple. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to know so many things. Hearing this, Ao Lingxiao glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen and said, "To be honest, I was originally from the upper realm." As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen looked at each other. Chapter 3823. If it was just for fun, Ao Lingxiao didn't need to join Penglai Island. Moreover, with Ao Lingxiao's temperament, he didn't seem like a playful person. At this time, Ao Lingxiao suddenly looked at Di Beichen. Di junior brother, if it is confirmed that you are really the young master of the Di family, then at that time can you do me a favor? Hearing this, Di Beichen's gaze became serious. His intuition told him that the favor Ao Lingxiao wanted him to do wasn't simple. What favor? Help me take back my family. Ao Lingxiao clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with hatred. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were slightly stunned. Even though they had guessed that the favor Ao Lingxiao wanted them to do wouldn't be easy, it was still beyond their expectations. Take back your family? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Senior brother Ao, even if Di Beichen is really a member of the Di family, isn't it too difficult for him to help you take back your family? Ao Lingxiao shook his head. It's not difficult. Junior brother Di can definitely help me. Why are you so sure that I can help you? Di Beichen felt a little strange. Even if he was really a member of the Di family, how could he do all this with his strength? The aristocratic families of the upper realm weren't ordinary powerful. Moreover, if he really returned to the Di family, who knew what kind of attitude the Di family would have towards him? Regarding this, Di Beichen had mixed feelings. Although the Di family had been searching for their descendants for so many years, they hadn't interacted with each other for so many years. Who knew what kind of scene it would be when they met again? When he first heard this news, Di Beichen was indeed very happy. However, after thinking about it carefully, he calmed down a lot. Aristocratic families weren't as warm as small families. Maybe there were many people in the family who didn't want him to go back. Everything was unknown. Actually, when I was chased out of the clan, an elder in the clan told me that as long as I left the upper realm, it would be very difficult for my brother to find me. Not only that, she even asked me to find a descendant of the Di clan who was stranded outside. As long as I could find that descendant, I would have a chance to take back the Di clan. At that time, I only thought that she was trying to comfort me. After all, the Di family had been searching for that person for so many years and still couldn't find him. How could I possibly find him by myself? It wasn't until I met you that I realized what she said was true. Since I was able to find you, I naturally believe that you can help me take back my family. Ao Lingxiao looked earnestly at Di Beichen. The next moment, under the shocked gazes of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, Ao Lingxiao knelt in front of Di Beichen. Junior brother Di, I beg you, please help me. Senior brother Ao, what are you doing? Get up. Di Beichen hurriedly went to help Ao Lingxiao up. What Ao Lingxiao was doing was completely different from what he usually did. However, Ao Lingxiao was still kneeling on the ground, unwilling to get up. Chapter 38-24. Di Beichen couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. They thought it was a good thing to be able to find some clues about Ao Lingxiao's background. They didn't expect such a thing to happen. Bailey Hongzhuang also frowned. Judging from Ao Lingxiao's expression, she knew it wasn't a simple matter. She wasn't unfamiliar with such a thing. After all, she had taken back the Lan clan with her parents. If they didn't have enough strength, it would be impossible to accomplish such a thing. Moreover, the aristocratic families of the upper realm were obviously very powerful. It was impossible for them to accomplish such a thing. Even if Di Beichen became a member of the Di family, he couldn't ask the entire Di family to help Ao Lingxiao take back the Lan clan. The Di family wouldn't be willing to do that. Senior brother Ao, it's not that we don't want to help you. It's just that we don't have the strength to do it. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She looked a little troubled. Previously, she felt that Ao Lingxiao was always in a bad mood. Something must have happened to him with such a strange temperament. At this moment, after knowing all of this, she felt that this matter was extraordinarily heavy. I'm not forcing you. It's just that I can't see any hope other than you guys. If you can't help me when the time comes, then forget it. If you can, I beg you to help me. From now on, my life is yours. Ao Lingxiao looked very serious. He had already thought it through. As long as Di Beichen agreed, he would follow Di Beichen's lead in the future. Looking at Ao Lingxiao, Di Beichen pondered for a moment. Although he hadn't known Ao Lingxiao for long, he knew that Ao Lingxiao was a trustworthy person. Thinking about it, Ao Lingxiao's current personality most likely had something to do with what happened back then. It was probably also related to his obsession that he couldn't pass the test. Senior brother Ao, get up first. Bewitching said in a low voice, you have to tell me what happened to your family before I decide whether to help you or not. If Ao Lingxiao was truly harmed by a scoundrel, then as a friend he would do his best to help. If that wasn't the case, then he naturally couldn't help. Seeing that Bewitching had agreed, Ao Lingxiao understood that it was inappropriate for him to ask for Bewitching's help. He immediately stood up and said, okay. Actually, I'm from the upper realms Ao clan. Speaking of which, my clan has quite a bit of relationship with the Supreme Clan. Hearing this, Bewitching and Ao Lingxiao didn't find it strange. If they didn't have some connections, Ao Lingxiao wouldn't have thought that Bewitching was a member of the D family just by looking at his appearance. My father was the clan lord of Ao clan. But he was suddenly killed 2 years ago. At that time, my elder brother and I were very surprised. We only wanted to find my father's murderer and avenge him. However, my father had already passed away at that time. So, the clan couldn't do without a clan lord. Therefore, everyone began to elect a new clan lord. My strength was stronger than my elder brother's. My father had also intended to pass the position of clan lord to me when he was still alive. Everyone in the clan knew this. Therefore, everything was logical. However, when I was about to ascend to the position of clan lord, an unforeseen event occurred in the clan. Chapter 3825. At this point, Ao Lingxiao's eyes suddenly surged with anger. His eyes suddenly turned red as he gritted his teeth and said, that day, I still didn't know what had happened, but I found out that my mother had suddenly died. When I felt it, my mother was already on her last breath. She looked at me like that. Finally, she said my brother's name. I never thought that in order to obtain the patriarch's position, my big brother would even lay his hands on my mother. When I heard the news, I couldn't believe it. Before I could react, my brother had already brought all the elders of the family here and said that I had killed my mother. Because the dagger that had pierced my mother's body was the one that I used most of the time. But only I knew that 2 days ago, my brother had said that he wanted to take a look and then took the dagger away. I didn't think much of it at that time. Who would have thought that it was my brother's plot? In order to become the head of the family, my brother had colluded with the Jun family and caused some of our family's properties to fall into the hands of the Jun family. However, my brother pushed all the blame to me and said that I was the one who had colluded with the Jun family. For this reason, he had arranged all kinds of evidence. The people of the Jun family also pointed out that I was the one who had done it. At that time, I couldn't defend myself. In the face of all kinds of evidence, my explanation was powerless. Since then, I had become a traitor in the eyes of the family. All the elders hated me even more. After doing this, my brother still wasn't satisfied and wanted to take my life. It was my wet nurse who secretly let me out. In the entire family, only she believed me. She believed that I wasn't the one who had done it. As for the matter of looking for you, it was also my wet nurse who told me. A trace of emotion flashed in Ao Lingxiao's eyes. The expression of anger on his face was abnormally strong. Even though this whole thing had happened 2 years ago, to him, it was as if it had happened yesterday. It was still vivid in his mind and he couldn't forget it. After this incident, I knew that my father's death was definitely related to the Jun family. All these years, the Jun family had always wanted to strengthen themselves, so they tried to annex all kinds of small families. Back then, not long after I fled, I was discovered by my big brother, Ao Lingxing. He chased me all the way. At that time, I was already exhausted. In the end, I was heavily injured by him. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to escape. However, since then, my cultivation has declined a lot, and I've become what I am now. As Ao Lingxiao spoke, his hands clenched into fists. In the past 2 years, I have been staying in Penglai Palace, but I have never forgotten about this matter. Taking back the clan is not the most important thing, but I must kill this bastard and avenge my parents. His dark eyes were bloodshot. Ao Lingxiao was filled with righteous indignation. His expression was pained, and there were tears at the corners of his eyes. He could not tolerate such a person continuing to be free and unfettered. His parents had raised him, but he had done such a thing that was worse than a pig or a dog. If he couldn't avenge his parents, then there was no justice in this world. Chapter 38-26. After Bailey Hongzhuang heard Ao Lingxiao's story, the two of them couldn't help but sigh. Killing one's own father and mother was something they couldn't imagine. If what Ao Lingxiao said was true, then Ao Lingjing was truly insane. They were only outsiders. When they heard all this, they couldn't bear it, let alone Ao Lingxiao who had to bear it all. No wonder Ao Lingxiao had always been alone. He didn't associate with anyone. Even his closest big brother had done such a thing. How could anyone else be trusted? If all that you say is true, he said softly. Di Beichen looked at Ao Lingxiao. When I have the ability, I will lend you a hand. He finally understood Ao Lingxiao's pain. No one would be able to accept such a thing, especially when he saw his own mother lying in a pool of blood. It was too cruel for him to admit that it was his elder brother who did it. Bailey Hongzhuang always felt that Lan Jingquang was insane. He was willing to kill his own brother for the position of house head. However, compared to Ao Lingxiao's brother, Lan Jingquang was much better. At least, Lan Jingquang didn't kill his own parents. Even if his grandfather didn't pass the position of house head to Lan Jingquang never thought of killing him. Not only that, Lan Jingquang didn't collude with anyone. He only wanted power. On the contrary, Ao Lingjing was insane. He would do anything to get what he wanted. This kind of person wasn't fit to be called a human. Ao Lingxiao's eyes lit up at Di Beichen's words. He looked at Di Beichen with excitement. Really? You're willing to help me? Di Beichen nodded. Yes. You believe what I said? I haven't known you for long, but I believe in your character. Di Beichen said. With Di Beichen's words, Ao Lingxiao felt as if his heart had been violently struck by something. An emotion called gratitude rose in his heart, almost causing him to cry. For the past 2 years, he had been silently enduring this pain and had never told anyone about it. This pain had been suppressed for too long. Under this pain, he simply could not be truly happy. If he didn't get his revenge, he would be like a walking corpse for the rest of his life. In fact, he also knew that if he were to ask Di Beichen for help so rashly, most people would not agree. If he were in Di Beichen's shoes, he probably would not agree either. After all, they had only known each other for a short while. There was no trust between them. However, Di Beichen actually said that he believed him. Ao Lingxiao was willing to go through water and tread on fire for Di Beichen. It had only been 2 years, but it felt like 20 years to him. It had been a long time since he had come into contact with the Murlocs, and he had never thought that anyone would be willing to believe him. For a moment, Ao Lingxiao was so emotional that he couldn't speak. He had secretly made up his mind. Whether Di Beichen was a member of the Di family or not, he would become friends with him. Just based on this trust, he would not let him down. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.